Welcome everyone to my presentation on Yara rules to rule them all. Uh, so about me, I'm a cyber threat researcher with more than 5 years experience in cybersecurity. I'm a speaker at multiple cybersecurity conferences and trainings. So I come from a background in malware analysis, threat intelligence, and reverse engineering. Uh, I'm currently doing my master's in cybersecurity from CSUDH. I occasionally do main post and I love motorcycles. So that was about me. Let's dive into the talk. So what are we gonna be doing today? So if you have never heard the term Yara, so today you're gonna know. Today you're gonna be knowing. Am I audible, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
All right. So if you have never heard the name Yara, you're going to be knowing it today. So don't worry about it. So I'll take it from the scratch. You will know what is Yara, how to make Yara rules, what are different types of rules, how you can make them. I'll give you a demo of how to create a rule. I'll run a ransomware for you guys and we'll show you a nice written rule on that ransomware, how you can create them. And we will talk about the possibilities of Yara, the life cycle of how it happens. And at the last of the conversation, I'll take all the questions. So let's start. So as you guys know that malware comes into various different forms. It can come as a binded macros in a Word document, or it can come as an actual file, as a PowerShell script, as a PowerShell dropper, as a VB script. It comes in different forms. So how to take care of them with just one thing. So Yara is your answer. So what is Yara? So Yara is basically a Swiss Army knife for malware analyst and threat researcher. It is free and open source to use, and all the intrusion detection systems, the modern day SIEMs, IDS, IPS, and XDRs, they all support ingestion of Yara rules. So what Yara rule consists of? So Yara rule has a you can provide strings in Yara rules, and those strings can be based on the code reuse pattern of a program, of a malware file, or any type of file. So Yara is not only used for finding malware. You can find almost everything with Yara. As we go down the presentation, we will talk about that, how you will be doing it. Coming up to the next slide. So what can you do with Yara? So the answer is you can do colors with Yara. So there's a lot of possibilities what you can do with Yara. You can scan live data stream. You can scan something against a live network stream for a malware in a live network stream. So you can track, you can identify, classify files, malwares, anything. You can find new malware samples which are going into the wild. You can scan the network. You can scan memory file. You can help speeding up the incident response process. You can track APT groups. From APT, I mean advanced persistent threat groups, the nation state threat actors, and all the bad boys on the internet. So and not only that, you can also make your own antivirus device with Yara. So basically it's like a signature heuristical based analysis which you can do with Yara. So yeah, one more thing is you can track future malware as well. For example, you will be using the code reuse patterns and the similar code flow functionalities of the malware to find a future version of it. We'll talk about that in later slides. So how does Yara looks like? So Yeah, if you're using a Linux based system, so this is how it is. So you define the name of the rule, you write Yara and then the name of the rule, and then this and the directory for which it has to be scanned against. Or you can use the -r, the recursive functionality for the directory to be scanned. So this is how it looks like. So you can use Yara, the option argumentation. I'm not using any option argumentation here. It has multiple functionalities for giving options, running multiple threads, running it recursively, and whatnot. Yeah. So in case you have never seen a Yara rule, let me go ahead and show you one. This is how it looks like, and um, let me. Yep. So this is one small Yara rule. So the name of this is how you write a rule. This is the name of the rule, the metadata, which is not necessary. You can comment it out as well, but to keep a track of what you are writing, it is advised to use metadata. It will be acting as a comment. So Yara is based on C. So anybody who is familiar with C will be knowing about the argumentation and the comments. So there's a lot of ways to comment out things. So we'll talk about that in later slides. So what this rule is doing. So there are two things. So one, I've defined torohack6, this string as A, and Yara, the string as B. And there is a logical this Boolean expression which I'm giving it is A and B. It has to find both these strings. So wherever it finds both of the string, it's gonna flag it against. Let me run it for you guys. Hold on. I'm not sure if you could see my. Yeah. So if you see here, so all right. So let me see if I'm running same URL. All right, here it is. So let me run this rule for you. So running this rule is I have to write Yara, the name of the rule, which is test1.yara, and the directory. So here I am at home lab and hack. Hold on. Let me run it recursively. All right. So it is flagging its own rule, because that rule also has the string torohack6 and Yara. In the same folder, I have this file. So if I write torohack6 and Yara in them, it's gonna be finding this out. So let me just save it here. And so I'm just showing you an example of how you find particular strings on Yara. And how you're going to be using those strings is like you're going to be finding the IOCs and the unique strings in a malware. We're going to be talking about that later. So this is how you run a Yara rule file. Let's go ahead to presentation. So what Yara consists of? So writing a simple rule based on strings is not gonna take your time more than 10 to 15 minutes. You're gonna be finding the unique strings identifiers and you're gonna be using it against it. But a good Yara rule doesn't consist of only strings. It consists of code reuse. So code reuse, you're gonna be finding out of the the functionality from the malware files. So today we're going to be talking about only malware files and how we're going to be writing Yara rules based on that. So in a malware file, you're going to be seeing a lot of functionalities, code functions, code reuse, and the pattern and the flow of the program. Based on those flow, if you're going to be writing the Yara rules, it's going to last generation. If your rule is only able to identify only one malware sample, then it's no better than a hash value, right? So your rule should be finding the later versions of the malwares. For example, the GandCrab had 5 versions in a span of 1.5 years. GandCrab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every time a malware mutates, it changes its hash, and so does the strings changes. And it's completely based on what compilers they are using, what packers they have, and a lot of other things. So it's better and it's advisable to write Yara based on based on code reuse functionality and not only on strings. So what Yara consists of? It consists of a metadata, so you can just comment it out to keep things in track. And strings, so there are three type of strings which you can use. So one is hexadecimal strings, you can use the text strings, and you can use the regular expression as well. And at the last of the rule, there is condition, the Boolean logic expression, which you define for what and how it identifies that particular thing. And of course, you don't need to add sriracha in your eyes. But yeah, with a small experience of debuggers and disassemblers, you can write a perfectly fine Yara rule based on code reuse. So these are reserved keywords in Yara. You cannot use those words while writing a Yara because these are used as a Boolean logical expression to define the conditions. So these things cannot be used. Like for example, this unit 16. So this unit 16 is how you give them a signature of a particular file. So for example, a threat actor is spreading malware in a PDF format or in an executable format. So every different kind of a file has its unique signature. So by writing unit 16 is equal to its signature, you can able to classify that Yara rule. Okay, so you only have to identify the certain type of files, like only PDFs, only executables, and all those things. So talking about signatures, so you can find signatures here. Hold on. So if you so this is the Wikipedia page for the list of signature files. So for example, if you find the PDF, so there you go. This is the hexadecimal string for a PDF file. So every file has its unique hexadecimal signature, and we will be talking about that in the further slides, that how you're going to be using it. Going to the next slide. So if anybody is familiar with C, so that is how you use a comment, both single line and multi-line. That's absolutely similar to C. So this is how you use how you give a comment, how you add a comment in a Yara rule. So you can use double forward slash, you can use star and a forward slash, like that. So this and this is single line comment. This is not going to be read in the Yara rule. For example, I have a rule up here. So if I write, if I have to comment it out, I'm just gonna be doing this like that, and it's gonna comment it out. So this is how it is, simple and easy. Talking about text strings, so what kind of text strings you're gonna be adding, so and how you're gonna be adding. So let's see. So text string can contain the following subset and escape sequence, which is already available in C. You can use the double quotes, you can use the backslash for this, backslash n for a new line, backslash xtd for any byte in particular hexadecimal file. So for text string, it is easy to write. And by default, it's going to take it as an ASCII file and not a wide string or not and if you want to identify, it is case sensitive. Yara is a very case sensitive thing. So if you want to be finding both the cases with foobar, this word, or any jumble cases, uppercase and lowercase with foobar, this particular string, you will have to assign a word that's called no case up here with this rule. So in that case, in that particular case, it's going to be finding both the cases and a jumble case as well. Yes, as I was talking about case string, here we go. So just writing no case is going to match it against uppercase, the jumble case, and the lowercase as well. Yes, so talking about the wide character strings. So a wide character strings is basically a computer character data type that generally has a size greater than the traditional 8-bit characters. So the increased data type size allows the use of larger coded character sets per bit. So there you go. For example, if the string Poland appears encoded as like 2 bytes per character, this is how it's gonna be. It's gonna be shown Poland, right? But you don't have to write this whole thing. So if you see a wide character string, you can just denote it as wide after you are supplying the Yara with a string. So writing wide will solve your problem. Yes, talking about XOR strings. So XOR strings, so there are like these two rules will find basically the same thing. So if you see these two rules, these are basically the same thing. So this is an XOR XOR string. For this program cannot string has been XORed, and it comes with these two possibilities, right? And if you are writing it like that, it's gonna be same as writing it like that. So if you provide it with the argument XOR, so it's gonna be identifying this particular string and both of these string as well. So it gets repaired at every XORs. So for an efficient rule, basically you have to write a small rule, but not only small, you have to write logically for better and long-term detection. I mean, if your rule can only detect one single file, it's no better than hash. That's what it's called, and that's what it's said in Yara. So write it in such a way that it detects logically. So for base64 strings, we have the same like that. This is how you supply the arguments. This program cannot is the string, which if you encode it by base64, you're gonna find these three possibility of permuted string which gonna be generated. So if you see that, if you find the possibility that it can, the CNC IP address can be a base64 encoded string. So you can just write base encoded ASCII both at the same time. So it's going to be finding the base encoded version of that particular string as well. Yes, here comes the better deal. So as you guys know, hexadecimal number system 0 to 9 and 8 to F, these 16 bits, these 16 numbers, they are if you decompile a program, if anybody has a reverse engineering background, they're going to be knowing that if you take it into a disassembler or a debugger, hexadecimal is what you get. Before binary, the compiler will take it up to the x86 assembly level and the hexadecimal level. So this question mark is a wild card. It can have 0 to F anything in it. And based on the code functionality, you're going to be writing it in the hex strings. So hexadecimal string allows three special constructions to accommodate more logic. So these are wildcards, the jumps, and the alternatives. Talking about regex is really not really not recommended. So efficient rule means less false positive and more hits, and regex is not followed or used more because of the false positives. So the regex gives you a lot of false positives, so avoid using regex while writing a rule. Write rule based on string or bytes, but not regex. It's not recommended, guys. Talking about conditions, so what kind of conditions you can supply? So like the executable entry, you can supply it as an executable. If the file type, it can have it can be a PDF, just like I showed you guys. Every type of different file, either it is an ELF, either it is a PDF, exe, any kind of file has a unique signature identifier. That's called the magic number, or the signature, the file signature in a simple terms. So you can provide the Yara with, okay, so find this type of files only which is less than XYZ kilobytes and has these particular strings or arguments or code reuse. So this is how you define. You can supply it with entry point in the memory. You can give it condition of file size, like less than XYZ kb, like. And most of the malwares target Windows systems, so they are basically portable executables file, the PE file or the exe or whatever you say. So these files, when you dissect them, you will find that they are having headers, they are having sections. So you can give the Yara rule the condition to identify that particular thing. So why code-based Yara rules? So as I told you earlier, the virus mutates, and with every mutation and its hash changes, and so are the strings. So these malicious threat actors work just like a software development company. Mostly they reuse their functions, logics, flow programs. So basically all you have to find is a pattern to write a error. So writing one efficient code-based rule also detects a future malware. So future malware is like, just like I gave you an example of GandCrab 5, GandCrab 1 to 5, which came in the span of 1 to 1.5 years. So GandCrab is a ransomware. It was way before WannaCry. And GandCrab has evolved into Revil and Sodano Kibi right now. They are still active. So if you, at the time of when the Grand Cap first came, if you write an efficient rule, that rule is going to detect and prevent against GandCrab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of those versions. So one efficient rule is going to identify and alert you on a future malware as well. So a code-based rule requires a little bit of understanding of disassembler and debugger, but it's easy. You guys will get it. It's a small thing. So, but the code-based rules last for generations. So write Yara based on codes. Now let's praise to the demo god that everything works good. So let me see what I have here. Let me fire up my virtual machine. All right. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So I have a sample of WannaCry. I'm sure everybody is familiar with WannaCry. So here is the sample of WannaCry. This is an exe file. If I show you, not Yara, it's what? See, if you see, this is a portable executable 32-bit file, which is designed for Intel 8086 instruction bit cycle. That is the modern day architecture of processors which we are using, the I series processors and all the 8086 based processors. So this is my Linux machine. So let me just keep it here. I am just sharing this folder to my Windows machine here. So let me see if I have given it the internet access. So Virus Total has the integration of around 50 to 60 antivirus products. So if I search it against a file, so it's going to be telling me that what file it is and all those details, and if it is a malware or not a malware. Cannot yeah. Checking the hash. There you go. It's a WannaCry crypto. Right? All the things in red. Let me just run the file for you guys. It will be easy. So you see how short is this file? This is like 3 MB file. Hold on. Okay, this is not the folder. Okay, let me give it with the sample which I have whitelisted, which is this one. So I'll go to my shared folders. And whoops. Give me a second, guys. Seems like it is. All right, there you go. So your files have been encrypted and nada, nada, nada. So you have to give money and this, that. So this is your ransomware right here. And so talking about code-based reuse, so you have to fire up your IDA, your disassembler or debugger. This is the best used, or you can use the open source Ghidra to find the code-based the functionalities based on the program flow of the malware. So talking about strings, you can use the normal command and which comes with Linux. So, oops, I'm missing an S. There you go. So this will tell you all the strings which this program has. So you see there, you will find a lot of unique strings. You don't have to use these strings, but the strings which you see is completely unique and you have never seen. So this requires a little bit of experience and it comes at times. But even if you use this string and give it an argument as, okay, so file type is portable executables, and these are the three strings which you have to identify, and it's going to be detecting this file. There you go. All the files and all the strings. Let me just close it for you guys. All right, so I have written a Yara rule for the same, so I'm going to show you the particular Yara rule. I wrote it a day back or two. So this Yara rule string, okay, let me show it to you here. This will be better. Yeah. So this is the Yara rule, which is going to be detecting all the versions of WannaCry. So WannaCry has a mutated version. There are some script kiddies which use WannaCry like cryptor for based on their malwares, and there are some ransomware as a service things, the ransomware as a service platforms where people go and they just do clicks 5 seconds and they come up with a new ransomware file, and then they go ahead and spread it along, so they get money and the ransomware as a service gets some cut out of it. So if you write a nice Yara rule for those ransomware as a service, no matter how many kind of mutation or how many different types of malwares they come up with, if they are using the code reuse functionality, they are using the logics and the patterns which they are using in the first program which you have written the Yara rule for, you're gonna be detecting them. Okay, my battery seems low. There you go, plugged in. Yeah. So let me run this Yara rule for you and see if it can detect or not. So we'll write Yara, the name of the rule. What was it? Hold on. To hack. There goes my folder. Yeah. We are in WannaCry sound. All right, WannaCry.yara. So Yara, name of the rule. And now you have to give the argument. Like, for example, Yara supports a lot of arguments. I'm going to show you. If you do Yara -h, you will see a lot of possible arguments which you can do with Yara. So you can use C for like loading compiled rules. You can use -p for using multiple threads. You can use particular timeouts. You can use no warnings. You can use recursive scans. You can use fast scans and a lot of other things. So let me clear this up for you. Yes, so these two files are here. So let me run this URL for you guys. No, it won't run because I'm not providing it with the path. All right. See, it is able to detect this particular file, this exe file here. Even if I come, so I have other samples of Yara on my other folders as well. if I'm going to run the scan recursively, for example, in my home folder. So this is a recursive scan. It takes a little bit of time and some computation. So it has found this version, this other files and exes, which are in the different directory. This is in a complete different directory. And it's going to be scanning my whole computer for this particular file. So what this Yara rule has till the time it runs, let's check it out. So metadata, it matters or not, you're going to be writing it or not, but it is advised to write so that you keep a track of what you are writing the rule for. Particularly the strings, I am searching for this particular string, ASCII. Even if I don't write ASCII identifier, right, this is going to detect it, treat it as an ASCII file, ASCII encoded string by default. But if it is a wide, and you are not sure it can be used as wide and ASCII, you can use both wide ASCII like that. I'm searching for this particular string as well as it is full word ASCII, and this is what I have to get from the debugger and this assembler. It's a complete different topic for some other day. But if you see a function or a pattern in a particular program, it's a big program, it's a ransomware, it's going to encrypt, it has some encrypting function, it uses DLL, it has a particular flow program. So you have to derive the code from this thing, this hexadecimal string, from the function reuse. Basically all you have to look for is function reuse, and you have to keep a check of uh, wildcards, because see, different compilers work differently. So some XOR string can have different values at different places. So if you're not sure, just wildcard them. And this condition, what this condition is looking is for the file type, the header is 0xA4D. So this is the executable file signature, the magic number which I was talking to you about, the Wikipedia page I showed. If you see, let me just show it to you again. So exe file, portable executable. This is the mg header DOS. So the mz is said because of the person who created the DOS type of file system. So the ASCII value of M and Z, and 54 and AD. So if you write 54 and AD, you're going to be finding it here. Where's the .exe file? Yeah, there you go. 5A4D. That's what we have in the program. Let's check it out. Yeah, 5A4D, right? So this will detect exe, DLLs, MZ. So any type of DOS MZ executable file and its descendants, which is coming from the starting of x86 instruction bit of Intel architecture. So coming back to demo and coming back to the Yara rule. So I supplied it with looking for an executable file and look for any of these, and the file size should be less than 10,000 KB. And this is how you comment it out. You don't need this, right? So anything. So it will, this Yara rule will, it doesn't know that it gets searched for a malware or not. So all it looks is for these particular strings, because Yara search at the very bit level. It searches the file from the binary level of the file. So it particularly search for this hexadecimal in any file present on this, on the particular directory you are scanning it against, and it is looking for a particular executable file which has a file size less than this particular KB. So this is how it is. It's very simple to write Yara rule, and it's very efficient. So all the malware analyst and threat researcher, it's like a Swiss Army knife for them. They do a lot of things with Yara. They use online scrapers based on Yara rule as well. So do we have more time? I'll show why a code-based rule is important than a string-based rule.
We have about 4 more minutes, but we also want to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions if they have any.
All right, so I'll just wrap it up quickly. So here I have 2 samples. So if anybody is familiar with the C program, so this program, what it is doing is it is printing hello. That is it. There is another program which is printing hello, but the strings are broken. So I have identified, I have supplied it with HELLO, broken. And when it will print it like this. And I have compiled this particular, these 2 programs into executables. These are ELF based files because I'm using a Linux. So if you see file sample1, this is an ELF based files. So what it does, it will print hello. So if we do sample1, it printed hello. Same for sample2, printed hello. Same thing, both of the program is doing. But if you make a rule which you have supplied with the string, oops, sorry, which you have only supplied with the string hello, and the same, it's gonna be only identifying the program 1. Let's run this Yara rule and see. Hello.yara, and let's search it against home, lab, hack, and sample. It is only searching for, okay, I'm not going into that particular executable folder. Yep, there you go, sample, executable. So it only identified sample1. Why? Because the rule was written only to search this string, and that string is broken into that program, right? But if you write a rule based on bytes, which I just showed you guys, let me just open it with Sublime. There you go. Now this rule also searches for hello, but any type of hello, not only just the simple string, but broken string and every other thing, because it is using the functions. So if I run this particular Yara rule, it is going to identify hello byte.yara. It is going to identify both the executable files which has hello in them, sample1 and sample2. So this is why you need a code-based rule. So
Thanks,
now
really quick, we just got a question for you. from Ian. Now, Ian asks, what do you suggest or point to for getting into analyzing and creating these types of things? Like, are there other tools like Yara, or do you suggest that this is definitely the way to go? As a pen tester in this area, it interests them very, very much. So what do you think?
So Yara is mostly and widely used, but there is a thing called Sigma. So Sigma is from Florian Roth. He has made his particular framework, Sigma. But Sigma rules and Yara rules, these are the basically tools of trade. But 90% of the market share, I'll say not 90, 95, Yara rule dominates because it gives a lot of functionalities and a lot of particular thing you can do with Yara, you can't do with Sigma. And based on the corporate products which is ingested, the corporate products which are there in the places like CMs, like Splunk and all those things, IDS, and a lot of firewalls also support, a lot of intrusion detection system supports Yara. It doesn't have support for Sigma. So it is open source. You can make a rule and ingest it there. But for Sigma, it's a lot of nara. You can do it with them, but Yara is more preferred. So why code-based Yara rule? I think you guys got an idea of the sample which I just show you. You can track future malwares. You can make it efficient, and it's gonna last. So one rule will rule them all. So things to take care while creating code-based rules. So compilation flags, just like I told you guys. So different compilers work very differently. So you have to take care of the compilation flag. Whenever you're not sure of the opcodes, just use the wildcards, the question marks, or always take care of the XOR and EAX. They can produce different opcodes. So keep that in mind while writing a code-based Yara rule. So testing Yara. So how you test Yara? So first you test the Yara against the bad files, a lot of bad files, and then you test it against a lot of good files. Why? Because it will give you a chance to reduce the false positives. So when you search it against a goodware files, and if you are getting a detection, getting a hit, that means that your Yara rules need some changes. So how do you test it? So I will recommend, so Kaspersky's Team Great has a project called Clara, Klara. This is what I will recommend. Clara is a benchmark tool for testing Yara. It is open source, so you can use Clara. Let me wrap up this quickly as I'm running out of time. So the Yara life cycle. So first you analyze the particular file which you have to write Yara against. You have to identify the particular strings and the code reuse and everything. And then you write Yara, you test Yara, and then you deploy Yara, and you monitor it and enjoy. That's how it is. So where you can search Yara against, there are, just like I told you, VirusTotal, just like I showed you VirusTotal, I uploaded the malware file on VirusTotal. You can write a Yara rule, give it to VirusTotal, but it comes with pro functionality, VirusTotal Pro, but Hybrid Analysis has it for free. You can search a malware file against your particular Yara rule. For example, the future malware, just like I'm denoting every time. So you can set an alert based on your rule. So if anybody uploads, or if VirusTotal sees any kind of malware which matches with your rule, that means that new version of that particular malware has came out or anything, you will get an alert. So Hybrid Analysis and VirusTotal is the best place to check it out. Automatic rule creation. Yes, there are particular tools where you don't have to write Yara. All you have to supply is with the file type, and it's going to be writing Yara, but it's not that good. A manually written Yara rule is the best rule. These are 2-3 best automatic tools which I will recommend. Go check it out. It's called Yara Generator, Yara Gen, and MK Yara. So Florian Roth has a tremendous amount of work while it comes to Yara. So check him out. I think one of those tools belongs to him, the Yara journey. Yes. So automatic rule creation, I could have shown you guys, but I seems like let's skip this because we are running out of time. Okay, what you can do with Yara, you can find O-days. There are uh, numerous cases in the past where people identified 0 days with the help of Yara. You can monitor anything with Yara, data stream, monitor malwares, monitor intrusion detection in a running live network stream. So there's this tool called Zeek. It was called Bro first. Previously it was called Bro, so now it's called Zeek. So you can use Zeek and Yara rules in combination to make it as an open source IDS intrusion detection system. And believe it or not, a lot of people use it in their corporate environment. I'm talking about military grade security and banks environment and whatnot. You can you can even make your own antivirus device and a small antivirus product with Yara. So conclusion is writing code-based rule requires understanding of debuggers, but those are the best rules you can have. So string might not be the best thing to use because if the program mutates, your string's gonna be of no value. So if a malware has a communication to XYZ IP and you just hard code it into your Yara rule, and if it changes, then your Yara rule will become obsolete. It will not detect it. So always look for code reuse functionality and write Yara rule based on them. So these are the references which I will suggest for if you want to learn more about Yara. So this is official. So Yara rule was developed by VirusTotal, Mr. Victor M. Alvarez. So check him out. All right, I'll take question, guys. I'm sorry, the last few slides I have to wrap it up quick because of the time thing. So Keith, you got any question for me?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the excellent presentation. I was really curious about what Yara rules were, and it seems like this is a really important thing in the world of cybersecurity. You know, I saw you had the WannaCry virus up there. That was big. That hit a lot of hospitals. So
Yeah.
knowing this stuff is really important, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so I want to ask anyone in the chat, feel free to ask any questions you might have in the chat, or if you want to come off of mute, you can ask a question that way, whichever you prefer. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time because I know the lunch session is starting soon. So if you do have to head to that session, that would be okay. But if you want to stick around and ask a few questions, that would be okay too. So I'll open the floor to any questions now. So go ahead and ask if you have any. And while we're waiting for anyone to ask questions, I actually do have a question that I'd like to ask. I noticed you were running a Windows XP machine, virtual machine, and you also had a Linux machine going there. So these Yara rules, they can be used like across any platform, right?
Yeah, cross-platform. So you remember I supplied it an argument that it looks for the particular PE files only. So there I will supply it one more argument that don't only look for PE files, but look for, let's say, PDF, let's say Word file. So you see these different phishing campaigns and all these campaigns, they use various methods of delivery. For examples, APT34 or APT28, some of those APTs, they use malicious office files document, like malicious Word documents or Excel documents. It comes up with an attachment as an email, and people click it, the macros run, it downloads, it runs a PowerShell. The PowerShell downloads a dropper from the CNC. The CNC starts a cryptor, it gets encrypted, blah blah blah, and chaos happens. You know how it is. So So based on Yara rules, you can identify and put a stop to all of them at once. So this is how powerful it is, and it's used really widely in threat intelligence, malware analysis, and intrusion detection system. A lot of antiviruses use Yara rule as their backend. The whole backend is based on the Yara rules. You will, even if you will Google, you will find a lot of open repositories where people just drop their Yara rules for community uses, but it's one of the highest paid jobs to write Yara rules.
One of the highest paid jobs to write Yara rules.
M-
That's good to know. Good to know, definitely. All right, does anyone else have any more questions before we call the meeting? All right,
All
well,
right.
thank you so much for attending this meeting on Yara rules. We do have a networking luncheon coming up soon. It's actually going on right now. So if you want to join that, meet with the presenters that you've seen so far here today. That would be back in the main lobby. You can go back to the main lobby and click on the networking luncheon to join. Or if you want to join the hackathon, that's an option too. That's also available in the main lobby. So thanks again, everyone, for attending. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for your presentation on Yara rules. And that's it for this meeting. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, Keith. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Have a great day, everyone.